Hello, and welcome to tonight's episode of Lore and Exploration Let's Play No Man's Sky. Now, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do these every night. In fact, I highly doubt it. Right now, I'm able to play in large chunks, kind of by chance, because I had some scattered vacation days lined up when I could do that. So I'm taking advantage of that, recording a bunch of these. They may be more sporadic in the future, they may be shorter in the future, but definitely since seeing this game for the first time, purchasing it, and now playing it, you know, I found my way into it, and I'm really enjoying sharing it, and I appreciate the comments people have left as well. Alright, see what we've got. Emergency. There are a few sort of conventions to know if you're, as you're watching my Let's Plays. By the way, the reason I started out here is, look at this beauty. I have not seen a monolith quite like this before. There are a few conventions that are good to know for the way that I play and talk about what it is that I'm seeing. One of those is if I speak in first person, if I say I think this, I think that, I'm talking about me, the player, and that seems silly to have to say, but if I say we, I mean the character. If you're a No Man's Sky player as well, I mean one of you as well, one of your explorers and characters as well. Because what we're trying to do is deduce from the given facts that we find in No Man's Sky, even if they are quirks of game design, quirks of gameplay, quirks of design, whatever available evidence we have, we're trying to distill a story from that and take it and run with it and see where it leads us. So I need a way to differentiate between things that I, as a player, and sometimes knowing information from outside the game world, which is called metagaming, that I think and speculate from things that my character might be thinking. So we have arrived at this monolith. We have never seen one quite like this before. We're going to go ahead and check it out, and then we'll talk about a few other things. I imagine everything we're going to find at this monolith, that's just gorgeous. I'm gonna do a walkabout. I imagine everything we're going to find in this whole system is Gek lore, and I think, although I can't be sure, I'd love confirmation or disproof. I suspect every given system, stellar system, is controlled by one race and species, and the lore you're going to get there is all related to that race or species. So everything that we've encountered, both on this kind of autumnal jungle world of Kaina Dren, and on some much more brutal worlds in this system, it's all been Gek lore. So let's see what we've got. Balarian? That's interesting. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. I can't... the word Balar... No, I don't know what that is. I'm not confident saying it seems familiar, but I really don't know. So, Balarian. I've written down all the words as I've discovered them in sequence, and in a little bit we might actually run through some of them. There does seem to be a set sequence to discovery, at least in my experience, because I started one sort of set of, one game world. The earliest videos in this, you'll see, are of that. And I died a tragic death that I may still turn into a short story. It was crazy. But the words I discovered during that playthrough, or play, didn't play through anything really except my demise, were in the same order as the words I've been discovering here. So I'm continuing to record them in sequence because it seems like the sequence is set, and it does seem like the sequence kind of progresses from concept to concept in a way that makes some sense. Let's see what we've got. fury. Wonder what a Balarian is. It's pretty interesting. Alright. This is a beautiful monolith. Often in these videos I will repeat some things that I've said in prior videos, if they're relevant to what we're doing, because someone could jump in at any time. And I don't think it ever hurts to re-articulate something that you suspect. Maybe that suspect is a better word than deduce. Anyway, I'll speculate on, our character might speculate on these monoliths in just a second here. Let's see what we have here. Bankrupt. That's interesting. And actually, before I tap this monolith, maybe it'll make some sense to stop for a moment and discuss. So let's go over here. Is that zinc? I'm in the habit of tapping items for just a little bit at a time as I run into them. And with my core items like zinc and iron, you know, I can kind of top off the tank, toss out what I don't use, and no one's the worse for wear. Now, you know, let's go ahead and arrive so that we can turn off that beacon. Oh, that's interesting that it's way in here. Where am I? 0. Can I arrive? Is it gone? Wow. It's not. That's interesting. Alright. That's weird. I guess maybe do I have to be up above? A little cumbersome, this hopping about. But... Come on. How interesting. That does not seem to want to go away. Oh, yeah, still there. Far out. I really don't quite understand the way items appear and disappear, are active or fulfilled in terms of goals and objectives. But clearly I'm not. I need to turn this off because if it stays on, it may be on forever. Then again, when I tap the monolith, it might go away. So we're going to forget about it. Head back over to our little vantage point and talk for just a second about what these monoliths have shown us so far. Pretty much my whole focus and interest is in lore, in the story, and also in building, as I said, you know, a moment ago, in building our own kind of version and interpretation of that story as we go, using everything that we encounter as inspiration for new ideas. So to this point, we have gone to quite a number of Gek monoliths between the worlds in this system. There are not nearly as many, so there are several types. Some of them have foundations of loose stonework like this one does, and those I find, you know, those are kind of coveted. They're rare, they're a little more rare anyway, and they tend to have a kind of a puzzle at their center that you have to answer correctly. Well, actually there are 3 options in each of these, and there's not necessarily a correct answer because I'm beginning to feel as if they're more like a way to kind of check your allegiances and alignment than anything else. A bit like the decision trees in Mass Effect for anyone who's played that. But in the process of exploring these, we have gotten bits and pieces of the Gek side of the story in terms of the lore. And I wrote out a little, very brief summary of, you know, kind of what we've gotten so far. And I'll go ahead and read it before we check this guy out. I should say that here, as of video 10, I feel like I'm kind of, episode 10 we'll even say, I'm kind of hitting my stride with these. And I'm going to try at the start of each one to summarize and recap our suspicions about the world, our suppositions about the world, the things we've speculated and that we've discovered and deduced about the world, and then go on, you know, go on from there. So, in what we've seen so far, it appears that the Gek species was originally a world-conquering race, or culture. They subjugated an underling offshoot of their own species, And my what we suspect as our character is that the sort of diminutive Gek that we encounter as merchants in different places are offshoots of this this subjugated species. Part of that is because from the descriptions of the Gek and the descriptions of what they call the first spawn, you know, a galaxy-conquering force, it seems almost more Lovecraftian than anything else. And we'll get back to that because I believe that that has to do with the derelict buildings that we encounter throughout all these systems. So, the first spawn, this kind of world-conquering infection, began to spread throughout and conquer different worlds. It came via pools that they apparently constructed to soak and imbue beings in order to infect them with the first spawn. That part's a little unclear. What I should have done, what I didn't do, and I'll probably search the internet for, are screen caps of each of the lore slides at these monoliths as you know as they come up. I've captured some of them, but not all. The Gek, or the first spawn, came into conflict with the Vy'keen, which is the first mention we find of another culture in the game, one that we have not encountered in character in this instance yet. And in fact, both of the systems that Akaraza, my character, has awakened in have been Gek-controlled systems. So, you know, I don't know what the galactic layout is, but I'm curious to explore the others. I'd be most curious to explore next the Korvax, and after that the Vy'keen, actually. So they came into conflict with the Vy'keen. The Sentinels intervened, and in the Gek lore, that's the first point they're mentioned. The Vy'keen attacked the Sentinels, and in the meantime, the Gek retreated from the field in order to shore themselves up and refocus on a more nefarious approach to world conquering in the form of commerce, which they set their underlings towards doing for them, I guess, as proxies or servants. Meanwhile, the first spawn then attacked the Korvax, who rear their heads. This is why seeing all the slides in sequence would be pretty useful, because they are bits of narrative, but I'm piecing this together from memory, which is always imperfect. The first spawn attacked the Korvax, and it was noted that the core of the Korvax homeworld was a crystalline structure. That I find very interesting, because there's a recurring theme in No Man's Sky. I pointed it out in the video, in the episode last night. I'll point it out as we continue to go around Kaina Dren, this world of crystalline structures as having very amazing properties. Anti-gravity properties, life-giving properties, and that's kind of a segue, properties that have to do with its use as a storage medium and as a construction medium. So let's pause there and cover that real quick, and then I'll hit the last bit that I just read earlier tonight related to this the Gek's lore storyline. So these, all of these monoliths seem to be made of a similar material, and at different times this material is referred to in different ways. It's pointed out that the Gek were able to imbue their memories and emotions into it. My feeling at this point, what I suspect and what we suspect as a character, actually no, because we have not yet encountered the Korvax. What I suspect as a player with access to the internet and other information is that this material is Atlas in design, designed by the Atlas culture, and work perhaps, and I think that's tied somehow with the Korvax. That, let's say, the Korvax have more in common, I suspect, with Atlas and with the Sentinels than they do with either of the other two species. I also think that this material, it's kind of it's got this kind of cubic shape to it, this silicon structure or shape to it, silicate shape or structure, this crystalline shape or structure, and I believe that it is an informational storage medium, as well as, or I suspect, I deduce, that it's an informational storage medium as well as a building material. It may be that it is melted down and poured or cast to make monolithic stones in order to cast it into an enduring object that can then be imbued with particular messages. They may have other capacities like transmission abilities, conductivity, and these kinds of things. But as we'll find as we explore elsewhere on Kainad Ren, there are chunks of stone. Oh, there's one right there. So here on Kainad Ren, we have these floating chunks of what turn out to be copper. To an item, as far as I've found so far, these are made of copper. They float above spaces in the terrain that have released these objects, and this is all embedded in the fractal terrain. There are objects around here in Kainad Ren that are kind of these egg shapes. We'll run into one soon, and I'll point it out when we do. And it is as if these objects have released living material into the world. Likewise, when we run across these egg-shaped craters from above, we will find they each have a kind of a nucleus of actually like a nucleus plateau in many cases, and in the rim of the craters there are often caverns opening up and almost literally spilling forth, and I mean literally, not literally figuratively as they do these days, but literally spilling forth life force in the form of plants and crystalline structures, and even in many cases animals that make their home within these tiny little ecosystems. So I think we'll run into many of these terrain patterns on different worlds. They'll repeat to a certain extent. We'll reach other worlds, they'll be strange and alien, but every once in a while we'll run across a similar feature that functions perhaps in a similar way. And in a spirit of speculative world building, I would say that means that there's a similar principle at work in the lore, in the storyline, that these places, these phenomena, all embody certain tendencies in the material. In the material, that could have been worse. That could have been a lot worse. In the material of No Man's Sky. And we'll get, here we go. We can see a few of these egg shapes now. And if you've been watching prior episodes, I've already talked about these a little bit. But, and I first actually saw these in other videos where someone, actually no, I think it was a description of someone who had said he'd seen these strange avocado-shaped structures. Anyway, let's go ahead and approach this. Yes, that was almost worse. Let's go ahead and approach this monolith. Get done with my fancy camera work here. It's all practice, right? Although this is one place where inertia would be nice. And I won't talk about it now, but I've got a note to remind me to talk about camera movement in the game as a plot element as well. I actually had a thought about that, and I thought it was a thought I had never had before, but I was rewatching one of my earliest episodes, and I actually brought it up at that time too. But we'll get to that soon. It has to do with the jerkiness and the lack of inertia in our camera movements as we try to move. Even if we do it slowly, it takes this kind of thing to not go like that. So we're going to talk about that, because that is, it's evidence in the game. We're seeing it as part of our experience, and my thesis, my approach is everything we experience in the game, we should be able to put to the services of an ever-building lore. And that's what we're going to do. All right, let's check out this monolith. I really hope that question mark turns off. Oh, what is this here? Memories of Oxalepo. So each of these are almost in the form of a riddle or puzzle. That's interesting. Now, as you learn words, and at this point I think I have something like 175 words decoded, it replaces the words in the in various bits of text, which is very helpful for trying to figure out what it is you're supposed to do. Now, what it is you're supposed to do can take a couple different forms. Especially in Gek lore, because the Gek are so disturbing. And when I say Gek in terms of Gek lore, I'm referring to what ancient, eldritch, let's say eldritch Gek, ancient world-conquering, the first spawn Gek. And I have adopted the convention in naming the worlds in this system of adding an H to the end to kind of indicate that ancient eldritch difference, right? So Gek Kurag is an ancient, kind of dark and very powerfully infused world in this system. But so I mention that because a lot of times the riddles in Gek lore are discomforting, and you don't necessarily want to do what it is that the monolith itself seems to be prodding you to do. But you usually have three choices, and one of those choices is usually kind of like hitting the escape key. Like, I don't know what to do, so I fold, I default, I balk. And the other two choices are of two different sorts, it seems. One of those is always doing what it seems the monolith wants you to do, which in this case is both clear and in reach, which is giving the units. And the other one is often, it seems to me, I don't have a way to confirm this, but perhaps what Atlas might want you to do. Often it has to do with extending an amount of mercy to the situation, of refusing some of the darker designs of what the monolith is asking you to do, what the puzzle's trying to do. So let's take a look at this one here. A small green hand reaches out through the stone monolith, its fingernails yellowed and dirty. It opens to show an empty palm and waits for my response. This feels like part of an ancient tradition. There's no malice, just cold expectation. And this kind of all ties back to this transformation of the Gek, from an ancient eldritch world-conquering force into a split culture in which part of them sort of make their way as merchants. At any rate, we're going to go ahead and give it the units. I have a fair bit of Gek reputation, or I think in this game they call it standing at this point, so I vacillate back and forth. But whenever I'm deeply, there are monoliths that prod you to make kind of sacrifices, or cause harm, these kinds of things, leave someone to perish, these kinds of things. They all come in the form of kind of hallucinations or visualizations. I usually refuse those, and something like this I will generally take. So let's do that. Interesting. All right. What comes of that? Do we get a word? Aha! Aha! Atlas word. Originally, that's interesting. At first, I had feared I was missing those, and they seem only to come up at these larger monoliths, which is part of why I'm going to have to go on a hunt back at Gek Kurag, even though that place has become a little bit much for me, because there are a few pretty aggressive species that seem to know what I smell like at this point, because they keep showing up at monoliths. Anyway, a part, I think it was a part, was it a part? I'm going to put a question mark because I was, of course, babbling, so I have to go check it out in the video. A part. Monolith. Yeah, I think it was a part. Alive? Arg. I hate when that happens. I need to write these things down right when I see them. Okay. So, pretty much what I'm doing here is hunting for monoliths and lore. The problem is, or the challenge, I suppose, that really is a great monolith. I'm pretty, the one's pretty cool. I like it. The challenge is that they are much fewer and further between here than they are on, oh good, we've got transmission towers, than they are on Gek Kurag. And that has caused me to change my strategy. Part of that's because there's so much water. Some of these are underwater, and I now have new means to go underwater, but I haven't yet installed it because, as we know, nothing can be worth more than the empty space that it fills. I missed. You know, I'm really trying to get the hang of that, so much so that I'm tempted to redo that landing. Ah, come on. No. Nice. Oh well, whatever. Alright, well, hopefully that won't matter. Oh no! Awesome! This is actually great because we get to have a chat with my good friend and buddy, Trade Envoy Mundagar. Now, Mundarger, Trade Envoy Mundarger. Here's the deal. I love my ship, my little grasshopper ship. I also love Trade Envoy Mundarger's ship, and I have since the first time I saw it. Every time I see these ships in a given system, it seems like they give you a repeating, like over time the number of ships available to you kind of decreases and winnows down until you have maybe half a dozen at the most ships that keep recurring and showing up to you over and over again. And as your reputation goes up, as you become friendlier with that species, the prices go down, but also every time one of them lands, the configuration of the holds, the cargo holds and the slots are different. And I just keep waiting for the perfect thing. But the fact is, I don't need to worry much about being overly tempted to trade out my ship yet, because this thing is still quite a ways out of reach. Anyway, we're going to take a look and see. My speculation is that if you engage when a ship shows up, it shows up consistently and more often, and it won't kind of disappear from your prospects. So now here's the deal. This hold shows up with 31 slots at this time, and the most it could seemingly have is 32, 33, 34, 35, 35. That's weird. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. That's it. You know what though? The sizes of the slots are differing and changing. So I don't really know whether there is a minimum or maximum possible size. I certainly have not seen one show up with all of its sort of grid filled out. But I love this ship. I suspect it's not going to be very maneuverable and nimble. Oh, in fact, I can find out now because I can compare it. The other thing, though, is kind of a reason I don't really have to worry. And I'm not even pricing. I have a list of ship pricings I've been doing where I've been comparing the cost to the number of open slots and overall slots. Now that I know how to remove technology from those slots, I don't worry so much about, you know, slots starting out full. But at any rate, I don't want to buy a ship, so I actually got a bargain for my the grasshopper here. 18 slots and super nimble. This is interesting. This measure right here is a measure, I'm assuming, of navigability. And this one has one very similar, which is nice because that implies, you know, that that maneuverability won't be an issue, which is really great. Also, it seems to have better shielding, which is great, and it makes sense as it's you know, a lightweight freighter. It's not a full freighter, as there's kind of guesswork or speculation that future patches are going to include larger freighters. Given how important storage is in this game, it makes sense. And then, of course, looks like a little, maybe that means better shielding. No. Green and red. I really don't know what the difference is between those two. Rate of fire, maybe, versus firepower. Anyway, you know, I'm obviously not in a position to do this. And the reason why is not only that I don't have 5 million units at this point, but rather only 2.4, but also that for my own, to feel good about a purchase like this, in a game like this, I need to have at least twice as much as I'm spending, and ideally much more than that. Like, you know, the amount I'm spending is like a third to a quarter or a half at the very most of what it is. At any rate, I'm not going to do this now, but I have looked, and I'm hoping that means he'll continue to show up in the future. It's always good to check in and visit with Trade Envoy Mundarger. So, this is a great little camp. It actually looks like there's a heck of a lot of stuff here. It's frustrating to me, as it is to everyone, that you can't see, there seems to be no way to consistently map or hold on to your waypoints. I'm getting a little better at moving around and finding these locations, but oh my, well, let's go ahead and deal with that. Use up my T9. My approach to mining is that if something's within eye shot, I go ahead and tap it and get a little bit and move on. And that way I don't really have to spend time grinding for materials, and slowly but surely I end up with what I need. Plutonium is so useful that I really don't worry about having too much of it. Do we have a friend here? Sure sounds like it. I don't know, I have a mixed feeling with the Sentinels. Generally I'm okay with them, and I feel like I was doing really good with them. But they attacked me recently when I mined a bit too much, and that was the first time that it happened with me. I do find that the faster rate of activity on this... No, those are all ships. There's not a sentinel in sight. I am enjoying my new multi-tool. Looking good on that. I think he's about to take off. Or maybe he's just landed. Oh, it's a different ship. Yep, just landed. Anyway. Alright. Let's explore the camp. By the way, over here, so we're in a crater right now. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell, but this planet is almost composed of them, these egg-shaped craters. And if you look here, you will see one of these dark, there's sort of these dark ovals. They almost look as if they're wet. And I think that those are the spots where mineral outgrowths appear and, you know, pop out into the world. And, you know, and then if they're particularly dense and rich, they form into caves. And this is all over this planet, and I'm sure I'm going to see it in other worlds, you know, when I finally get around to doing what the game wants me to do, build my hyperdrive and take off, which I'm not in a hurry to do. I really love Kainadren. I love this system as a whole, much more than I loved the first system I found myself in. It's been very kind to me, and I love it not only because it's been kind, it's also been harsh, you know, at certain points, but, wait a second. I'll be darned. Huh. So, I think this is as good a time as any to point something out, and that is, since I've been playing this game, which really has only been a few days at this point, although intensively, because I've had the vacation time to do that, when I kind of have gone out into the world and walked around and explored, I have found, oh wow, another one. I have found myself seeing, I'm going to see if I can feed this guy. I don't know that I can. I haven't successfully yet. I walk through, you know, an area with grasses. Well, hello. Come on, buddy. Yes, please. Ah, Heridium. All right, I need to pick up some Heridium because a lot of these guys seem to want it. Anyway, I'm like walking, you know, down a path with plants around, and I'm beginning, I swear to you this, I'm not making this up, beginning to see the plants abstracted out from each other in oh, another new one, wow. Abstracted from each other as I go. and this is not normal, right? This is not like, how I normally am. This kind of thing often happens with a game where you just, you kind of see things in the game's way a little bit, and but I really love that the way that's happening in relation to No Man's Sky is an increased sensitivity to the diversity of our natural world. And I mean, obviously, our real natural world is a much greater diversity to it than this synthetic this virtual world, natural versus virtual, not versus, but you know what I mean. But it's the principle that I'm fascinated by, and interested in, and hopeful about. And I'm, as you go, you start to think, what does the natural world in No Man's Sky symbolize? Obviously, it is what it is. It is the thing itself. But if it symbolized something, what would that be? That's something, that we'll just kind of leave as a thought. But I'm going to return to it because it's a useful way of analyzing the world around you. Asking that question, like of a cup, you have a glass, a drink sitting there. If this glass of water were a symbol, what would it be a symbol of? And answering that question as best as you can at any given moment. So maybe we'll do that a little bit more later on. Anyway, I'm thinking about that in relation to the natural world of No Man's Sky, the synthetic world of No Man's Sky, because it has had a real world effect of causing me to notice the teeming diversity, even though, we're slowly descending towards, that's interesting. So, all right, I'm actually going to record this while I'm kind of thinking about it. That's crazy. Okay. Obviously, the worlds of No Man's Sky are, while beautiful, less complex than our own. There are a handful of species that you can name. On any given world, there are 2, 3, 4. I don't know if it's a set number. In this case, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 animal species you could name. Out of curiosity, let's check what it was on Gekurag. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it is different. And almost always for me, it seems the one I can't get as a final capper are the birds, the airborne creatures, because I can't get them to stay still long enough in my visor. But be all that as it may, geez, okay, thank you. It's not a diverse world. I mean, a world with 9 species is by no means a diverse world. At the same time, we live in a time on our world here on Earth when our depletion of natural species is happening at an ever-increasing rate. That's simply truth. And one of my speculations and suspicions about the world of No Man's Sky, based on the evidence at hand, because remember, we're taking everything we see in world as a genuine clue. If you find a planet that only has 9 species, what that would suggest to me is that it is an ancient world that has gone through a process of flattening or simplifying of its diversity over time. Whether that's through some kind of natural disaster or cataclysm or active agency is, an open question. But in that way, this synthetic world, these oversimplified worlds of No Man's Sky, might act as a bit of a cautionary tale for us. And at this stage in Earth's history, maybe it's a cautionary tale we can no longer avoid, the outcome of, the moral of, that there are consequences to the depletion of biodiversity, of cultural diversity. Again, a galaxy with only 3 main species seems like it is somehow, artificially limited because it's not, the teeming, diverse galaxies we know from the likes of Star Wars or Star Trek. But the fact of the matter is, again, it's like a useful cautionary tale. There, but for the grace go I. We are depleting our own cultural diversity at a similar rate. So, that's something to think about as we go on. Let's see what we can find here. A beacon received years ago flickers with unceasing persistence on the screen, awaiting the correct response to reveal its origin. Now I must attempt to decipher it. 4865. All right. Yep, I love these. These are my favorite patterns. Simple is just fine with me. See all the craters and see how they're kind of egg-shaped? In fact, far to the right, that's actually a really interesting one to go to. We should probably... Aha! Good. Okay, we'll do that. We can do that. I'm going to check that out. We saved our flag, didn't we? Maybe we didn't. I think that's over there. Pretty sure. By the way, I want to point something out about our life support. We'll talk about this more as we go, and it has to do with one of my suspicions about the nature of our character. I've actually got some new information on that as well. So here's the deal. You know, our life support is constantly depleting itself, constantly marching down. A number of our materials, our resources. What? We can't be out of. Oh, we have none in the cargo bay. Okay, hold on. A little bit of transfer here. Seems like all these guys eat. Maybe I should buy some of that stuff if I can, because I just need to have some on hand to feed the animals. Anyway, it's clear that we cannot live without our life support. That our life support is built into our suit, and it is always slowly ticking down. But think about that for a moment. We don't eat, and again, everything we've got in game we're taking as part of the lore. We don't eat. We obviously don't sleep in the game. We don't seem to excrete in the game. But we have this life support meter that is constantly ticking down, and it's not a great leap, given that that's the case, to suspect that our life support system is, that we're almost like a mecha in terms of like in the anime sense of a mech. We're as much machine as anything else. And I do think our character includes a biological component. In fact, I actually have more evidence on that as of today because of a tool we've picked up. I don't see the beacon flag. Where is it? Why am I not seeing it? That's a little weird. Is it not? Alright, well, I won't worry about it. Here, by the way, is another feature on this world. Not quite like the avocado shapes, but similar in its way. Kind of a spherical, almost ovum shape. And again with this kind of empty center though. But we can suspect that the teeming multitude of life here somehow sprouts from that center. Ah, good. We've got the market. Alright. I'm going to go for that. You know, in some videos I've seen, when you inspect these plants, you get a little perk, and that's not the case for us. We'll talk to him in a moment. But first, we're going to... Just take a look, make sure we know what we've got. Move over everything that we can sell, like our themium. But you know what? We can use that to feed one of our thrusters and not have to burn plutonium. So we won't do that yet. We'll sell the relic. How many units of zinc here? 4. 4 units of zinc. Check charm and chrysanite. ay, ay. My advice is to sell everything you have, except for the absolute minimum things that you need, which to me seem to be plutonium and here it is, I'm going to buy that. Small stock of iron, and a few other things. I'm getting distracted. Zinc. Oh, how many was it? Like 4? Good grief. 254. Of course, I see it now. Okay, let's do it. This was probably unnecessary. Probably would have been more practical to just trash it. Oh wait. Oh, that's right. Here I can go to my ship. I've decided I'm going to focus on landing sites that have beacons, transmitters, dishes, or landing pads, because they seem to give the best potential for doing other things. All right, let's max this guy out. Good, we can do some feeding in a little bit. All right. Oh yeah, we were going to talk to this fellow. Usually he just gives us a word and we get an increased reputation, but if we switch out our ship at some point, that'll be handy. Give help. Okay, that's interesting. The life-form clucks and gabbles as it studies my equipment. It gently pecks at areas of my exosuit that show wear and tear, then runs its gloved fingers over my multi-tool to look for irregularities and imperfections. Suddenly staring up at me, it squawks and offers an offer and spins a tablet that shows the cost. I see. All right. Huh. So, what I am suspecting here, Federation, that's weird. You know, is that basically, this is why, all right, so at these the last time I talked to one of these guys, I got my multi-tool upgrade. My suit, unless they're going to give me a suit with even more slots, or potential for slots, which actually could be pretty cool because, all right, tell you what, now I know what these guys do. Since I just got a multi-tool upgrade, I'm not going to worry about that one. I will look for the exosuit inspection. I don't think he's going to have a suit on offer to me with more slots than what I have, but maybe he will. I don't know. This is probably a fool's errand. All right, doesn't cost nothing. Oh, I see. It's just technology. Okay, well, shoot. It's all right. No big deal. I'm happy with both of those right now. Note to self: in the future, though, always go with multi-tool. Alright. We're going to check out that egg-shaped crater. Ay, I'm in the wrong side. I really do hope they at least give the option for increasing the field of view. I wonder if this is the time to talk about the jerkiness of camera movements yet. Let me take a look actually at my chat notes for tonight. I was going to read through the word list. I've talked about seeing the world differently through visor vision. I'll cross that out. Oh yeah. Hold on a second. Let's see if there's one other thing for sale that is relevant to what we're deducing of the lore here. What I'm looking for is, it's not here. I believe it's called a Korvax shell. Okay, we'll keep our eyes peeled. By the way, I really want a dimensional matrix, even though I have nothing to do with it. And actually, that to me is a clue as well. Unfortunately, they don't have much description. But when you think about that, a dimensional matrix, it brings up the possibility and kind of reinforces the idea that we are navigating quantum realities as we are making our way through this world. And certainly that's how I interpret the flag beacons as we run across them, which is probably not the right name, but I still can't seem to remember the name yet, as often as I should. Burn through that thamium first. Okay. Oh yeah. I'm gonna feed one of those hopping worms first. I still really love the hopper, and I'm glad I'm gonna be with him for a while. You know, here's another thing. Actually, I was at a site like this, and an identical ship to mine landed, but the difference was it had more slots. There it is. I also really love the flag for Kainadren here. I really, really do. At any rate, it had more slots. It had the same body and chassis, but more slots, and I thought that's pretty cool. I've been thinking a little bit about what possible lore reason there could be for such an urgency placed on the, you know, the necessity of storage space. As far as that guy. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, well, that's a ways away. We're headed that direction, though. That's good. Alright, I don't see a hopping worm. I'm going to head over here just in case. Oh, okay. So why that would be. And in the video about the proposed first law of No Man's Sky, that being that the value of an empty slot is greater than anything that could probably go in it, if it's under 60,000 units. Is he like swimming? No, it's just, although, yeah, I can't get close enough. Probably already have it. I'm gonna forget what I was talking about in these sidetracks. It's great. Oh, that's just the tip of this guy, which I've already scanned. Yeah, great. Good moment to make sure we don't have any more species to upload. Okay, so empty slots are on one hand important in character because of the nature of spaceflight. And if you know anything about spaceflight, you know that every ounce counts, and that the lighter you can make your ship, the smaller, the more nimble, the better off you'll be. Well, I don't see one of the bouncing worms, but I do see this guy, so I'll go ahead and give this guy a try. Ha ha ha! Happy Mario Mushroom Cluster! I love it! Oh my gosh. So, in theory, at some point around here, they say, these guys poop out little valuable, like, gems and things. It's a little bizarre. This guy's not, but that's okay. I don't need anything back from him. Just knowing he's happy is enough for me. Alright. So there's space flight as a rationale for that. But there's another interesting reason that I've been thinking about, which has to do with the nature of quantum physics. In quantum physics, the potential of something basically before something is observed, and I'm saying, ho ho, in quantum physics, I'm no physicist, I'm a layperson and a storyteller, I'm a science fiction fan, I'm absolutely not saying this as, you know, anything but just sort of wild speculation, thematic riffing, right? So there's this idea that the potential for something is as like before something is perceived, it can be anything. And in a very similar way, you know, the reason an empty slot is so valuable is that before there is something in it, there could be anything in it. And the moment there's something in it, it can't be any of the other things, right? So generally you just want to leave yourself as much capacity as you can. And this is, so this is the kind of site I will not be visiting unless I really need those ray beacons. Same with this guy. Because I'm you know, kind of trying to accelerate my pace of exploration of Kaina Dren, because I share my solar system with an antagonist at this point. That's another story in a prior video. But anyway, I'm trying to, you know, do as much here as I can before I move on. This place really is dear to me, and this, as well as Get Kurag, in a very different way. You know, they're the first places I've been, and in my first game, before I died a peculiar and tragic demise, let's see. Oh yeah, that's a ways away. All right, over here. That was dear to me too, but really without much reason. I mean, this world is absolutely, you know, like, this is my benchmark for fun to explore. Just in terms of the terrain and the islands and the water. Get Kurag is, oh, there's a guy. Oh, that's interesting. Alright, so that's a manufacturing site, I think? But I also saw a worm dude there. I'm tempted to go and feed him. Oh, that's a trick. I've never done that before. Let's go ahead and land. Oh, okay. I think this is the first Eldritch spot I have decamped at here. Alright. Interesting. Hello? Oh, good. Okay. Alright, we're going to check out those caves in a minute to do a little mining. But first, you probably know the deal here. If you haven't seen one of these before, I believe what we are about to see here is the result of I as a player, as well as a character, starting to suspect that this is what the first spawn is all about. So we've got these creepy tendril things. And in most of these, there's a kind of a spiky spine that shoots out and squirts you. Usually it's actually right there, I think, but not one here. It's alright. Oh, okay. Yes! This is actually the reason to go into this, because it's a separate plot line from... Not a separate plot line, but I guess let's call it a separate lore line from the monoliths. Let's take a look. Okay, so the deal with these is that I believe as a player, and we believe as a character, or coming to believe, that this log was left by one of us. And by one of us I mean an explorer, a sojourner. I've actually started to refer to my character as a sojourner, Akaraza the sojourner. You're alone, but you're also journeying to places for a brief time and then moving on. And you are here for a brief time in terms of, you know, your life as a character. So I believe that a sojourner in my own sort of quantum probability line, as opposed to bloodline, was interacted with this force, with the if this is the first spawn, then interacted with the first spawn before. There are a number of entries prior to this. This one says, oh wait, final data log, awaiting analysis. So this is the last entry in this plot line. Okay. Interesting. Is this what we become? At each turn on my journey, I find only more to taint my spirit and my flesh. The fanged maws erupt around me when my back is turned. Huh. I hear them chattering and spitting. Sometimes they scream sounds that may be words, perhaps my name. I haven't removed my exosuit in many cycles. That's interesting. It's absolutely us. I'm afraid to look at my own skin. I know it will be seething, pus-wet, and pitted. I've become a vector of infection. The corruption of something ruinous lives in my flesh. Don't come looking for me. Okay. Probably after this, it will be an appropriate time to talk about the exosuit and a little bit of new information on to what extent we are synthetic versus living beings, creatures, our character. The final log, boy, that's amazing. Radiation. Okay. And we're getting to the point where we've got some pretty major firepower available to us in... Come on. There we go. In our, and most of them have come from these sites. So we have a radiation deflector, we have a toxin suppressor, we have, and looks like what we get is a higher and higher level each time. Tau is the highest. Sigma, that's thermal for heat and then cold, or cold and then heat, as the case may be. So slowly this is equipping us to enter into extremely hostile environments. Now, it's equipping our suit. And we know that our exosuit is so very much a part of us, of who we are, as well as processing everything from our food to our excretion for us. That we're almost one with it. Oh yeah, we're going to mine in here a little bit, I do believe. Yeah, we're low. Plutonium is, it's really just, to me, it just comes down to plutonium. Well, hello, friend. Good to see you too. Let's see if I can... Oops, Fred. I did not want iron in any way. Alright, that's okay. Hello, Sentinel. How are you today? Making up a song. Okay, come on. I think I also need to talk about my targeting system, because there's a plot-related aspect to that as well. Oh, Sentinel, I'm sure you're coming my way. I've just grabbed an isotope. I need it to survive. Please do not attack me. I need it to survive. I'm gonna look you in the eye, cause I need it to survive. Yeah, I'm singing. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. Alright. So, alright. A couple things. So here we have this jerky camera movement. I've brought it up a couple times tonight. It's been, I find it very frustrating and annoying. Most gamers, sort of capital G, traditional hardcore gamers, this is like the only way to go. For some reason it's, considered to be super precise and awesome. But to me, the problem is it's not how the human organism looks at the world. Our head moves, and there is fluidity and wobble and motion to it. And that is built into who and what we are, and I prefer that when gaming for cinematic experience. Likewise with motion blur. If I'm in an environment, I see motion blur when I move my head. I've said all that before. What I want to get at tonight is, it occurred to me, and this is actually something that had occurred to me in an earlier log and I had forgotten, that we can take this as circumstantial evidence for the plotline as well. The fact is, if our character, when it looks around, is looking in these jerky stop-stop motions, that, I feel, it's valid to guess, comes from a precision and sort of an automation and a mechanization of who and what we are. And that our head is on gimbals, our visor is, obviously it's using, electronic systems, because you can see that in the display, but, in the motions as well. In the, oh wait, No, there are no hostile species in the whole world. So also with the lack of motion blur, that sort of artificial clarity suggests to me that either we are in a synthetic universe, or we are synthetic beings, or our perception of the world is deeply synthetic in its, in the way it's being filtered. And it's, valid to think that some or all of those might be true. They do come in caves, by the way, but they seem to come less often. Famous last words. And at this point, they would absolutely take me out. My general rule of thumb is to only mine 2 things at a time, maybe 3, but generally as little as possible. But they're not around, so we're going to grab some while we can. So I think that's the case. I think that essentially, and I mean it actually increases my enjoyment of the game to think of it this way, and makes it a little easier to deal with the, to me, very frustrating jerkiness of the movement, and to gamers, super incredibly awesome jerkiness of the movement. Almost like at this point just the obligatory, for a game developer, obligatory jerkiness of movement. That oh crap. Alright, hello dude! Hi! How are you? Yes, good to see you too. That is a byproduct of our synthetic nature. You go ahead and just look at that. Take your time. I'm chill. I'm just wandering around. Not causing any harm. Let's check out this cavern real quick. Now I have another piece of evidence along those lines from today as well. Earlier in examining a underwater visor, or like visor enhancement, no, I think it was like a stamina enhancement. It essentially was spelled out in no uncertain terms that the wearer of one of these exosuits, namely us, has a spinal column. Okay, we're at risk of getting lost if we go much deeper. We're not going that way. And I'm going to say we're going to go on and head back. And that was this guy here. Painless spinal puncture. That cannot be done without a spine. Endocrine system, etc. The thing I found earlier tonight, though, that was new information, came from... Where was it? Aha! This guy, helping us to breathe underwater. I've been tempted to install it, and if it weren't for the first law of No Man's Sky, I would have installed it. An aeration membrane. The user is able to swim underwater for extended periods. Certainly handy, but listen to this. Absorbs gases dissolved in water, etc., etc. That if a user is conventionally structured, is placed over the mouth or facial breathing hole. A conventionally structured species. This implies that only a biological species, one with an intact, what's the word for your bodily layout, your, an intact structure, limbs and a core and a breathing hole, as it says, can be in an exosuit. So at the very least, even if inside our suits we are, even if we could not survive without our exosuits, the being that first entered into those suits, this suggests, was a standalone, independent being. And that might be like, well, duh, but it's really not that simple, because there are bits and pieces of evidence to suggest that we are deeply artificial beings, our character in this game. So I still stand by the idea that our exosuit is at least 49% of our nature, but now it's clear that the original essence of who we were, who we are, you know, that matters too. Ah. Iron. Phooey. Actually, I think... Nope. That's right. Okay. Alright, that's alright. One last time, I'm gonna see if I can get this aluminium. I'll feed you. Alright, it's okay. Okay. Now, I almost forgot, by my own convention, we need to rename this. And you know, in the past I've been calling it Eldritch. Tell you what, I'm gonna turn over a new leaf here. I can't rename the other ones, obviously, but I am confident enough in this idea, this connection between this infectious sort of material and the first spawn, oops, that I'm going to Ragoon. I'm gonna have to scribble that down or I will forget it. And as you'll see, actually, this comes up as one of the frequent items because that's what I had been calling it. Oh, I had also been naming trading stations and I forgot to do that in the last one. It's too bad. That's a shame. Alright, that's unfortunate. Go. That's what I think the deal is, and I stand by it. Oh yes, absolutely. You know, time to do that is this as well in flight, actually. Okay, speaking of which, so I am tempted if it shows up again. Wait, what? Wait a minute. Hold on. Something's up here. Monolith there. How far is it? 16 minutes. Got it. Okay. Alright, well, let's just go that way. First of all, let's move this stuff around. Do our recharge. Ah. Oh, see, I think that's a trading station. God, I'm tempted to stop, but you know what we'll do? So we will stop. We'll go back there. Hopefully. If I can navigate. Oh, wow. This is a nice area. Look at all this stuff. Tell you what. Let's, while we're here. No. Here's what we're going to do. Okay. The hard thing oftentimes is just to remember what it is you're trying to do next. One thing I've tried to do is land in such a way. Yeah, that's too far away. I'm going to forget. Land in such a way that I'm pointed the direction I want to go. But I'm pretty well determined to stop anywhere with a transmitter. You're going far away, aren't you? Thank you. Apparently not much to say for a moment. A word. Mistrusts. Oh yeah, I was going to read through the word list. What's amazing to me is they just keep coming. I mean, you know, I don't know how many words are in the lexicon. I guess I wouldn't be surprised if there were a heck of a lot. And there's diminishing returns to disencoding them in terms of reducing misunderstanding. But they also give you clues to the sentiment and the nature of the Gek, which at this point aren't hard to guess, but when I read through them, I think that'll be more clear. Ah, yes, this is my favorite one. 2121. One reason I am trying to drop beacons on this world is that, as I now know from the beacons I've dropped on Get Kurag, they'll remain from orbit. So I can come back and actually have a shot at finding places by doing that. In fact, that's possibly a good reason to leave a number of these unexplored and intact. Okay, there's that. No trading there, but I did see a trading station over yonder. I actually don't need it yet. I don't want to lose it. I mean, I'm wanting to explore and at least map every trading station that I can. Basically, for me, it comes down to transmitters and beacons, as well as I think this is it. As well as trading stations. Oh, there's a pod for you. I'm full up at the moment. Oh, there's another ruin. Nice. Oh, come on. That's just a flag, maybe? Those I actually stop at once in a while. I mean, it is worth stopping for the crates. Because Come on, I cannot see what you are. Oh, no, no, no. That's just a... I don't need that. I don't need it. Alright, well, I lost the trading station, unless this is it. I don't necessarily need it, but... I think that's it. Unless it's a derelict building. You know what? It's a derelict building. Alright. Well, we'll map it. Oh, there's a language stone, which is nice, or a knowledge stone. Oh, wow. Impressive amount of aluminum going on there. So you'll notice how, for the most part, I only grab something if it's within, you know, one click of where I am. Plutonium I will go out of my way to grab because it's needed in such abundance. Most everything else is just to sell. Actually, I'll be curious to see what happens here because the last place said it was the final log. So what is this place going to give us? Price. I mean, the fact that these words are, look at that, we got a happy family of mushroom heads popping along there. I think that's great. The fact that what was I saying? Gosh darn it. Well. I remember now. You know, the fact that the terms, the words in the Gek lexicon are related to the Gek's lore suggests to me that the words in, you know, the other cultures' lexicons will be as well, and I'm really looking forward to that. Oh, well, now this is interesting. Huh. Maybe this is a new one. Oh, wow. Huh. This is a new log sequence. So okay, so I am assuming that all of these chains, like the words going tick, 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 no matter where you are, in sequence, like the monoliths telling a story that seems to be unfolding in sequence, so also these data logs are telling a story in sequence. The last one, we had a final log, and so what we have here, I think, is the start of a new one. What are the Sentinels? They appear on countless worlds without summons or warning. They traverse the galaxy unopposed and enforce their will upon every sentient being they encounter. Who made them? Who gave them the will to police the stars and demand that we bow to their silent rules? The goal of the experiment was to learn the answers to these questions. It began on an uncharted world beneath a blue-white sun, far from the axis of civilization. The first drone screamed when it was cut open. Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. I haven't installed many of these yet. I'm sure I will at some point. But I'm still absorbing the deep meaning of the first law of No Man's Sky, so we're going to stick with what we've got as long as we can. Alright, headed to ruins. Oh wait, let's find our trajectory. Okay. 117, we'll head through that one, that's good. use up your carbon first. Any that accidentally ends up, use up your titanium second. Free as dirt. Precious plutonium last. Okay, I'll tell you. What I was going to say was... Wait a minute. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Alright. Alright. Alright, I am going to attempt to navigate back here, say what I was going to say. I used to stop at these beacons and these pods because they would deliver... God, there's 3 pods down there with plans. Alright, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop one last time, for old time's sake. Three pods, I mean, come on. I mean, I've been exploring long enough that I feel like I'm going to max out my, you know, my blueprints, but, geez, 3 is too many. What I was going to say was I don't tend to anymore because you find plans in a number of other places, but, like, you get to a point where almost everything is already known because you've picked up too much stuff. Ah! Come on. But you never know, right? I mean, you just might run into the one that is not already known. I swear I saw 3. Alright, doesn't really matter, so let's go ahead and map a ruin. Always given the chance. Map a ruin. Ruin or monolith, as it were. Colonial outposts are where you can trade. So I tend to, and structures are worthless. I mean, those are those little, what would they be called? Compartments. Alright. Not that far. Come on, there's another guy. Oh yeah, I'm getting a good density of monoliths here. See, that's just a compartment, but another beacon. And actually they've been hard enough to find around here. I'm gonna go ahead and take it. Iron, it's okay. There's also the chance that any of these flags that you'll get a good item in the crate, so that's almost always worth it as well. I mean, when the items yield 20,000 piece, you know, it's worth it. And none of it's about obviously it's not about the currency, it's about building capacity to explore, which is what you ultimately want to do, right? Viking dagger should go for a good price. Okay. So, I mean, these are also sites I tend to skip unless they're right next door, like like in this case. Already known. What I'll end up with here is a number of ruins in the same area, proximity, and that's just fine. I mean, that's essentially the case up on Get Kurag, so. You know, I wonder if I should grab an outpost. These are not always trading stations, actually. Sometimes they're manufacturing which I don't open those because I need to throw down with the sentinels to open those. Alright, well, it's all about the lore. Okay. There I am. Let's see, take a look at my notes for a second here. Oh. Ultimately, for the most part, I don't think that mining has to be a hassle. Shoot. Oh, I'm risking. Oh gosh, I'm dead. I'm dead. Hello, bud. I'm your friend. I'm your friend. I'm still your friend. Please don't shoot me. I know you're looking with the yellow eye, and that's dangerous to me. Please don't shoot me. Okay. Sentinels. Well, it seems like we're gonna learn about them. That's good. They annoy the heck out of people. I don't know. I have a different perspective on them, but they definitely are. They slow you down, that's for sure. I think that's probably ultimately good. I just think they're ever so slightly too touchy. And this is a low security planet. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Alright. I see what I was gonna touch upon. Has to do a bit with the jerky camera movement thing. So let's head towards a relatively distant ruin, actually, so we have at least a minute to chat. That's too close. That's close. These are all close. So tell you what, we're just gonna go for this one. Take a little ride. Oh yes, this is down here. And do you see how I almost lost that? Do you see? Not cool, because this looks like another monolith design I haven't seen. These are absolutely my favorite monoliths. The ones with the sort of wide architectural base to them. Oh yeah, I love them. I love them. You know, I'm a sucker for ancient solid state cultural biological storage, so that is, if I took that titanium, I would be taking up a slot. I'm not gonna worry about it. Okay, let's find a place to sit down for a moment, and I'll try to get out the talking point that I was pondering, because clearly I'm going to forget it if I don't. So I mentioned earlier, a few minutes ago, this idea that the fact that your camera snaps, I take as in-world evidence of our semi-synthetic nature. Not wholly synthetic, certainly, but semi-synthetic nature. That's beautiful. And I stand by that idea. I think, you know, simply from a perspective of deductive world building and lore, deductive lore, you know, speculative lore, that makes sense. You take the known givens, you extrapolate from them unknowns, and you see what leads from that. So in the department of what leads from that, there were a few other thoughts. One was an earlier thought that had to do with graphical rendering in the game. Early reviews were frustrated that, you know, as you entered into an area, there was a pixelated appearance of terrain that started out as blocky chunks and then, pixelated in a noisy pattern and finally it was terrain, this kind of thing. Certainly as the hardware improves, as a game, those kinds of things will get better. That's only natural. But to me, what I suspect of that is, what I draw from that is, it's another piece of evidence that we are partially or nearly primarily synthetic creatures. That our visor is taking in data information and processing it as quickly as it can, but is ultimately not able to process it quickly enough, which means that I hadn't thought about this before, but you might imagine that everything that we're seeing right now on the screen is like a digitized sheen. And I feel this way about most modern games. I don't tend to feel that modern games have enough texture to them. I tend to feel like things are made of like giant chunks of shiny Fimo, and the smoother the animation is in these things, the more I tend to feel that way. But when you think about it in relation to our visor, one thing you might speculate is that there is a reality beyond the screen, beyond our view screen as a character, that is physical and gritty and real, but that our view screen is filtering it, is adjusting it for light, is simplifying the data as it comes in, probably for compression purposes, and feeding us. And what we ultimately see seems to be somewhat artificial, or largely artificial, because we are deeply synthetic creatures. Okay, so there's that. The other thing that I had noticed, and I think I noted this in a log a little bit ago, was I tried to search for one in the market and I did not find it. An object called a Corvax, I think it's called a Corvax shell. This is it seems to be like the husk of a Corvax when the sentience has left it. Now, for a little bit there, I had, sort of a high probability speculation on my part that we, the main character, we are a Corvax in reality. Evidence we have in relation to our suit and the way that it talks about our biological undercarriage suggests that is not entirely the case. But it's still worth taking a glimpse at the Corvax shell as a data point on that. Also, likewise, here's a thing. I've complained a bit about the fact that I cannot auto-aim, and I didn't realize until recently that is actually related to the lack of logarithmic camera motion. So, with logarithmic camera motion, I would not need auto-aim, because I would slide in a predictable, organic, to me as a perceiving being, organic arc to my target. But because I do not have that, what I do is I'm going to try to aim at the monolith. Aim, up, overshot, aim, up, I'm there. And now if I'm playing a game, I'm dead. Because that's one of the reasons I really dislike shooters, is because I can't do it. Because, what the heck? How do you possibly aim at this thing and end up there? It makes no sense. So it's like, choose one or the other. And our system, the characters' integrated systems, what I draw from this is that we are conflicted beings. That we have an inner core of biology, and that is at work in the fact that we cannot aim. Like with consistency, right? Like if I look and I go, I've almost overshot. That one actually was pretty good. So let's aim at the dot. Dunk. Oh, I overshot. Dunk. Oh, I overshot. Auto-aim is a technological feature, but so also is this snap-stop of our motion. Without both of those being the case, the strategy is incomplete. If I had snap aim along with snap motion, it would be fine, because I would go, here I am perfectly targeting this object, I move and bloop, perfectly targeting my ship, and bloop, perfectly targeting the knowledge stone, and bloop, whatever center of gravity, bloop, there's a piece, you know, perfectly targeting whatever it is in that direction. If there were a logarithmic aim, or I'm sorry, if there were logarithmic motion, I could do without auto aim. With snap motion being de rigueur, I can't do without auto aim because I overshoot every damn time. The meat in me, like the living being in me, overshoots. There's a mismatch. I think I'm belaboring the point. I think you can get what I'm trying to say. But we're going to talk about and think about that more as we go. What it suggests to me about our character is that we are deeply conflicted. We are at this tipping point where we, you know, the No Man's Sky protagonist, Sojourner Akaraza, we are at this tipping point where maybe it fluctuates depending on what we've got installed. Like maybe some days 51% of our being is exosuit, and maybe other days, you know, 51% of our being is this biological core, and it leaves both of them a bit unsatisfied. So we'll leave that be and see what word we get. Stranger. All right. That's planetary. Huh. Well, that's interesting. And I'm getting to the point where I'm going to have to switch out blank pages in my log, but I think it's also going to be a good time to stop. In fact, I think it would be a nice symmetry to stop at this monolith. Now, if you've been watching my segments, my episodes, one thing you'll notice that's a little bit unconventional compared to other Let's Plays or other gaming episodes out there is I don't stop and then just continue right on where I left off. I will stop and then I'll just do my own thing for a couple of days or a couple of hours or whatever. What? Oh, I see. It's a language stone that's tipped on its side. You know, do my own thing and come back and I'll be somewhere different. And I actually like this. I mean, I think it preserves gaps and mystery. You know, even if you were following every single video, you would not see all of the sequences of text that I worked my way through. You'd have to play the game yourself or run across them in other logs in order to see them. And I think that's appropriate and, you know, valuable. So we're going to take a look at this. I am going to make sure not to forget to check out that knowledge stone. You know what, though? Here's the deal. I'm going to do that on my own. We're going to take a look at this. I'm going to set myself aside, and we're going to call this an episode. It's a pretty good one, too, I think. Covered a lot of ground. Memories of Où tu livres clip. Wow, there's not much. I'm amazed by how many words are still not, you know, known. My reality inverts. I am chained on the monolith. My arms are in manacles above my head and my feet are dangling several feet from the ground. A creature, its beak showing through the blackened animal hide mask, approaches on stilts. It wields a red-hot metal rod. Huh. It pecks at my eyes. Wow, interesting. It pecks at my eyes, then pecks at my tongue. I must choose my punishment. Would I prefer not to see or not to speak? Man, that's... Okay, so beg for mercy is like the escape key, and I don't think that's gonna do it. Boy, man, this is to me, this is a difficult one. Me as a player, I guess I would probably choose... I mean, if I didn't have a tongue, I could still write, right? I would just be mute. Of course, if I didn't know my eyes, I could experience the world in different ways. I mean, let's do it this way. In character, we as surveyors, we haven't said a word yet, have we now? Without our eyes, we couldn't bring any of this in, no, visor or not. So, looking at this in character, I'm going to say tongue. And as a tiebreaker, that makes sometimes a useful way to figure it out. Oh my gosh, wow. The creature plunges its poker into my mouth. The vision fades. I am gifted the knowledge of an ancient language. That's really... Gek word for terrible. Gek word for welcome. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. Terrible, welcome, queries. That's great. That's kind of a high point to end on. That's really good. That's cool. Okay. Falling off of the monolith, however, is not a high point to end on. Anyway. So, we've talked about quite a bit. I think we've covered a lot of ground. I feel like, as I said, I feel like I'm kind of getting into a groove in terms of how I'm approaching these. And... I hope others see these in the future and get something from them. And I hope to do more of them soon. Probably not tonight. This is probably it for tonight. So, thank you very much for joining us. And we will see you out there.